Hey guys, we're going to go over the answers now. It is Wednesday. We're going to go over these answers to section 2.2 through 2.3. So obviously you have your name at the top here, and then we're just going to roll through it, okay? I'm going to read it out loud for you. Let me zoom in a little bit. All right, so number 1, what do archaeologists know and how do they know it? Number 1, what tools did archaeologists use to unravel the mysteries of the past? You can have something along these lines. Scientists use fossils and artifacts found to help piece together what life was like during this time. Now, if you did something completely different than that, go ahead and pause the video and write that down. If you have something similar to that, you're all set. Number 2, why was Iceman such an important archaeological find? This is right from the textbook. The Iceman is one of the oldest mummies in the world. However, it is not only his historical age that makes him particularly valuable for scientists, but also the way in which he was mummified. Otzi is a so-called wet mummy, example one in which humidity is retained in individual cells. The body tissue is elastic and suitable for performing detailed scientific investigations. Moreover, he is a natural mummy, unaltered by burial rites or other interventions. The Iceman, with his complete clothing and equipment, provides a snapshot of Stone Age life in Europe. Now, you may be saying, Miss Richards, do I have to have that entire thing? No, you just need to have 1 or 2 of those points. The important part is in your head, why is the Iceman so important for archaeologists to find that? And basically, it's because it's one of the oldest mummies, oldest people we have to study. And especially with his clothing and the equipment and stuff, that was also necessary to kind of get an idea of what the Stone Age was like in Northern Europe. So just kind of summarize that. You don't need to copy that down word for word. If you have something completely different than that, you're not even mentioning Otzi, go ahead and pause the video and get some of this down. Number 3, what examples of art have helped to discover history? Artifacts found are often sculptures, jewelry, masks, and drawings. And you might be saying, masks? They were wearing masks in the Stone Ages? And no, they didn't look like that. The masks were full. They often covered the eyes and left the eyes open. They're often made of gold and very elaborate drawings, and it was a sign of royalty. So these masks are very elaborate, and it was nothing like the masks we wear. Number 4, what happens when new evidence is discovered that disrupts current theories? What happens when new artifacts and fossils are found that disrupt current theories? Remember in chapter 1 how historians need to be flexible and rethink their theories when new discoveries are made? Back to the drawing board. History is a mystery, okay? And honestly, that is true because there's always many sides to the story, as you know in your own life. Depends on who was there, who saw what. So that's kind of the answer there. It really disrupts the theories and it makes everyone rethink things. And sometimes, unfortunately, theories are not changed with new information because there is an agenda being pushed by people who run the world. And that's a tragedy. But there is always information coming out that changes the current thought or what's being, taught or commonly known. You guys get what I'm saying. Number 5, give an example of a new history or a new discovery, the Homo naledi. And you guys learned about that with Mrs. DeAngelis. Section 3, one type of change is considered the Ice Age, which is a period of extreme cold. So follow along with me with your own paper as we go, or with your own Google document. Scientists believe that there were 5 great ice ages, with the most recent one ending around 10,000 years ago. During this particular ice age, the northern polar ice cap moved so far south that most of Northern America and Europe was covered by ice, including all of Michigan. About 30% of the Earth was covered in ice. Naturally, hunting and gathering abilities were interfered with during the ice ages. The first people had to adapt to their surroundings. Therefore, Paleolithic hunters and gatherers had very different environmental conditions to deal with. Life in the cold climates would have hunters and gatherers using animal hides to keep warm and hunting animals that were more suitable to live in cold climates, such as the woolly mammoths, like Manny. Areas that were not covered in ice were still affected by the cold temperatures and would have determined the animals and migration patterns of early humans. Here is an example. During the time when sea level was low due to the ice buildup in the northern hemisphere, many of today's islands were connected to continents. And we talked about that with Indonesia and um, Sulawesi and all those, Borneo. How did the ice ages affect plant and animal life in Sumatra, Java, Borneo, Australia, and Sulawesi? So, summarize this as well. Let me just scroll down. 3 large islands of Indonesia, Sumatra, Java, and Borneo, they were connected to Asia. Okay, so that's one point you could have had. Using land bridges, animals and plants moved from continent to the island and continent, island, back again. Ice sheets melted, the sea levels went up. Different islands ended up with different plants and animals. For example, Borneo has tigers and gorillas. We talked about that. Animals also live in Vietnam, India, and other countries of South and Southeast Asia. New Guinea has kangaroos and opossums. These animals also live in Australia. Sulawesi has many strange animals, and neither, I don't really like that word, strange. Sulawesi has some really awesome and cool and unique animals. They're not strange. They're just strange to us because we don't live there. Nearly 2/3 of its mammals are found nowhere else in the world. This is because Sulawesi was not connected to either Asia or Australia, and many birds in Sulawesi are seen in both. And why? We talked about it. Birds can fly. What is a land bridge? Places connected by land, and you should probably have that hammered home by now. And then the next two answers, your answers may vary. So we're thinking about how environment affects us. Think about climate, the crops we can grow, resources we have, Michigan, physical features compared to other parts of the world. You know, Michigan doesn't have oil, right? Because we don't live in an area that produces oil. But in the Middle East, there's a lot of oil. In Alaska, there's tons of oil. But in Michigan, we have a lot of fresh water. So in some parts of the world, they don't have very much fresh water. It's very expensive. For example, in Arizona, they pump fresh water into Phoenix, and it's really, really expensive. But once that happened, the whole community just grew because all of a sudden you can get water and plants can grow. So there's crops, and that's just in Arizona. That's a few states away. But think about other parts of the world where there's just massive deserts, right? Well, in Michigan, we don't have that problem. We've got fresh water everywhere, right? And so think about that. Have your own answer for 4. And number 5, how do we adapt to our surroundings? Okay. So think about the houses we have versus the type of houses that people have in different countries or in the southwest part of the United States. Um, Even in like northern Canada, they're going to look different than our houses here. So that's one way you could think about it, but other ways too. How do we adapt to our surroundings? All right, great job, guys, and have a great Wednesday.